Hello there and welcome to Black Jackal Gaming. Today we're going to look at the Bully Boyz Detachment, and this is the elite Ork detachment in the new Orks Codex. So this is really geared towards getting the best out of nobs and meganobz in the Codex. It's got a good mix of different types of enhancements to give you a couple of opportunities to play slightly differently. It's got a good assortment of different stratagems that allow you to really pile on pressure onto your opponent. It also allows you to really tool up the elite units in the army to get the best out of them. And the meganobz, they can become outrageously tough and difficult to move in this detachment. Looking at the detachment rule, it's called The Boss is Watching. So at the start of the battle round, in which you've not called the war, if you have a war boss on the battlefield still, and he can be embarked on a transport, you can call the war for a second time. But if you do call the war for a second time, this only counts as being active for units with keywords war boss, nobs, or meganobz. Though it is important to know if your war boss is joining a different unit, they do get the war boss keyword as well. Looking at the war gear enhancements, first up we got teleporter. So if you have a war boss in mega armor, you can have the bearers unit have the deep strike ability, so they can come in from reserves or strategic reserves anywhere on the board outside of 9 inches of an enemy unit. Next we have big gob. This is for the infantry war boss only, and this is for the model. At the start of the fight phase, you can select one enemy unit within range of this bearer, and they must take a battle shock test, and you subtract 1 from the result. So not the strongest of enhancements really. Then we have the biggest boss. This is again for an infantry war boss model only. You get to add 2 to the bearer's wound characteristic, just making them a little bit more durable. Finally, we have Head Stomper. This is for an infantry war boss again, and this is for the model. Each time the bearer makes an attack that targets a unit that is below starting strength, you get to reroll the wound roll of 1, that is, and if it's below half strength, you get to reroll the entire wound roll instead. So quite a nice bump up for your war boss. Next up we have stratagems. So the first one's called Armed to the Teeth, and this is a battle tactic for 1 CP. And this happens in your shooting or fight phase and only affects nobs or meganobz. So for the rest of the phase, you get to reroll hit rolls of 1. And if you're in the war, you get to reroll the entire hit roll, which is very nice. Next, we have Too Arrogant to Die. This is strategic ploy, and it's 1 CP. This is when your opponent is shooting or in their fight phase and they target a nob or meganob unit. This is after they've been selected. So for the rest of the phase, each model in this unit is destroyed. If they haven't shot or fought so far, you get to roll a d6 for them, adding 2 to the result if it's a war, and on a 5+, they get to attack on death, which is very nice. Next, we have Always Looking for a Fight. This is strategic ploy at 1 CP, and this is in the fight phase after an enemy unit's been destroyed, and again targeting a nobs or meganobz unit that destroyed that unit. So for the rest of the phase, you can then consolidate D3 plus 3 inches. And if you're in the war, you can move 6 inches to consolidate instead. So a nice little movement buff there for you. Next, we have Crushing Impact. This is an epic deed at 1 CP, and this is for your charge phase. Again, targeting a nobs or meganobz unit. So you select 1 unit in engagement range and you roll a d6 for each model in your unit. On a 5+, you do 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6, so quite a nice little buff there. But more importantly, if you're in the war, you then do mortal wounds on a 4+ instead, which is quite a nice little perk up for the stratagem. Next, we have Cut 'em Down, and this is a battle tactic for 1 CP, and this is in your opponent's movement phase after a unit's been selected to fall back. So if they're in engagement range with one of your nobs or meganobz unit, the enemy unit must take a desperate breakout tests. And if the war is active, they have to subtract 1 from the test as well, making it more likely that you're going to do wounds to the unit as they're falling back. Next, we have Hulking Brutes. And again, this is battle tactic for 1 CP. And this is in your opponent's shooting phase after they selected a target. And if they target a nobs or meganobz unit, then you can reduce the incoming AP by 1 for the rest of the phase. So quite a nice set of stratagems there. They really do buff up your nobs and meganob units. They make them a little bit more durable. There's ways to make them move a little bit further than you would anyway. And there's ways to make them more damage dealing as well. So quite a nice set of stratagems for them. So what buffs and combos can you give to units within Bully Boyz? So meganobz can become ridiculously durable in this detachment. They already come in at toughness 6, 3 wounds and 2+ save, which is very nice. And you can take 2 to 6 models in the unit at 30 points each. And the unit count can go up by 1 model each. You can go 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, which is quite a nice little buff to have. The majority of units in the rest of the armies, they have to go up usually by 5 or 10 rather than 1 apiece, which is really nice. And when they're in the war, they have a feel pain of 4+, which is really nice considering you're going to be in it twice during the game. So if you pair them with a big mech and mega armor, this gives them a 4-up invulnerable save as well. So they're on a 2 out of 4-up and a feel no pain 4-up in the war, which is really cool. You can return 1 model per command phase as well. So you keep them around for a lot longer. It makes it really hard to dig them out. And once a game, you can heal D3 wounds at the end of your movement phase. So you potentially got 2 healings within 1 turn, which is really cool. So when the war is active, which is for 2 battle rounds, these guys have a 2-up save, a 4-up invulnerable save, and a 4-up feel no pain, as well as returning a model in each command phase. And if you haven't used it already, you get that D3 wounds healed as well. So it's really hard to dig these guys out of an objective if you stick them on it. You can also decide to pair them up with a war boss and mega armor. This gives them a +1 to hit in melee, so it makes them a little bit more lethal because their weapon skill isn't the best really. So this really makes them a lot more effective in combat. And you add the teleporter enhancement to allow the unit to deep strike, which is really nice. So when they're in the war, they have the inbuilt 5-up invulnerable save anyway. They're still pretty durable for 2 turns of the game rather than having the 4-up for the entire game. Use the arm to the teeth strat to give them rerolls of 1 to hit and full rerolls in war, which is really nice. So this makes them hit on 3s in melee with a minimum of rerolling 1s to hit, which is really nice buff to have for these guys because the weapon skill isn't great, but they come in with a high strength, high AP and damage melee weapons. So that's the downfall of the unit really, that they don't hit that consistently. But by giving them +1 to hit and the rerolls is very nice for them. So in conclusion, it's a great detachment to get the best out of nobs and meganobz in the unit and in the army. You can really lean into them to really have an elite force on the tabletop. It's very easy to keep meganobz around for the majority of the game. You can pick an objective and pretty much sit on it, such as the middle objective for the entire game, and it's going to be incredibly difficult to remove 6 of these from that objective. They'll be an absolute nightmare to play in casual games as well. In casual games, a lot of people aren't going to skew or lean into 3 of this best unit or 3 of that best unit. So if you do have a squad of 4 of these and a boss with them on an objective, it can be incredibly difficult to remove them. It also gives a great feeling for being the war boss's elite troops when going into battle. You really get the sense that these are the elite of the tribe, of the clan. These are the ones in the army that you have to fear, and it really gives them that scope to play with. It's actually a really solid detachment, and it's going to be really fun to play on the tabletop, and it's going to be quite competitive. It's one of the better ones in the Codex, and everyone wants to see the cool units on the board, so I can see it seeing a lot of play, especially in casual competitive games. Thanks for watching the video. Hit the like and subscribe button if you like what you see. Come and support me over by getting a membership to get access to some free goodies, or pop across to Patreon where I do a lot of blogging and post memes, and there's free membership to begin with, and you can upgrade later if you want to. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.